Hello and welcome to all the latest news and ramble about the world of electric cars from the team at electrifying.com. This week we are talking taking a leap of faith and electric car rebrands. Plus, of course, we'll be dipping into the post bag to hear exactly what you have to think about the world of EVs. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Ginny.
And I'm Nicola.
Hey, and it's just the two of us.
Hooray!
So now we got a girly half hour.
Let's talk about lipsticks and handbags.
Yeah, no, because we never do that, actually, do we?
No, we really don't.
I know. Maybe we need to kind of extend our conversation beyond cars once in a while, Nick, you know?
Maybe one day. How are you? Because everyone that regularly listens to this podcast or watches the podcast on YouTube will know you haven't been around for the last couple of weeks. So how are you?
How am I? Thank you for asking. I am on the mend. So yeah, I went in for a little routine operation sort of 2-3 weeks ago and wasn't quite as routine as we were all hoping in the end. So I had a slightly longer stay in hospital than I was expecting, but I'm definitely on the mend. But this is the first step back into the world of electrifying for me. So please be kind, listeners.
Always.
I'm kind of operating in a sort of pharmaceutical haze, I think is the best way to describe it.
Drugged up Ginny!
Yay! Yeah, prescription pharmaceuticals.
Of course.
But yeah, I did actually manage to call my son by the wrong name last night, so who knows what's going to happen today.
What did you call him?
I called him Max, and he's called Zach.
Oh, bless you.
I don't know what... Yeah, I don't know. Just, yeah, bless him. So, yeah, I'm not exactly Mother of the Year at the moment. But anyways, so yeah, Nora, it's lovely to be back with you, Nora.
Thank you so much for joining us, Geraldine. It's going to be a lovely, lovely podcast.
So what's been going on? What have you been driving? What's been happening in my absence?
Well, it's been a lot because we've been picking up where normally you're around for us to do everything. So it's been a lot of driving loads of different cars. Obviously, I haven't spoken to you since I went out to rainy Barcelona to go and drive the new Mini, which was definitely your fault. I blamed that on you.
Okay, so so I was in my hospital bed feeling really, really quite miserable, I've got to say. And I was in that kind of stupor where occasionally you might just look at your phone because you feel so crap. And one of the reels that popped up was your video of you filming in the rain in Barcelona. And it's about the only thing that made me laugh in a week was that video.
Yay! That's a positive for you.
But yeah, that did look a little. I know you talked about that on the podcast last week, so I won't dwell on it too much. But it was it was brilliant. But you got to do something else quite cool on that launch that you can talk about now, didn't you?
Yes. Well, I kind of teased about it over the last couple of weeks that I might be able to talk about it soon, and now I can. Right. So on the event, this was on the second day when it was slightly drier. We got to go and basically take part in this virtual reality driving experience, right? So you can see the reel. It's up on our Instagram now. Just search for Electrifying and follow us while you're there. Thank you very much. So you're driving a real Mini, actually driving and going around like this route in a car park. But I can't see the road. All I can see is this cartoon gaming world. So I was driving in virtual reality, but driving in real life. And it was the weirdest sensation I think I've ever had. Like you picture it to kind of be the future of gaming, you know? Yeah. Like say you could do races, but it's all in virtual reality, but you're actually racing a car in future, I guess.
I mean, I've watched it. It does look really quite freaky because you had you were like under the sea at one point and then you were in space.
Yeah.
And the question then did spring to mind was, but why? What are they planning? I mean, it's great gimmick. So are they literally thinking that this is it just a gimmick for a bit of advertising, a bit of marketing stuff? Or is it that they're actually thinking we may be able to do something cool and fun with this and people will race minis using VR headsets? Or have they not thought it through to that degree?
It's the whole, well, it's a bit of that. But it's a whole mixed bag of what the future could be. I mean, you think about it. You're driving around and you could turn it into a gaming thing, like you'd hire out an arena and do a whole gaming thing with it. Or you could use it as real virtual reality for a driving test for hazard perception, was what we were discussing when, like, when all the other journos
Wow,
just kind of
okay.
sit there and have a chat about it. And then someone else, I can't remember who it was like, Wouldn't it be great to actually drive around a car park, but it's like you're driving around streets and it's a real life hazard perception situation, but you're not actually going to hit someone while you're doing it?" I was like, that's a great idea.
Really interesting, really cool idea. I mean, I do think that, I was talking this week about cars just becoming more complex just to fix generally, because
Yeah.
they're software driven machines now, aren't they? The newer cars that are coming through, the tech
Yeah.
that's coming onto them, all the ADAS safety equipment, and increasingly just things like the Ionic 5N, which we're going to be driving soon, with all those kind of fake sounds, things like this. I know that a lot of people don't like it, but I really find it fascinating the way that the boundaries are being pushed with
Mm.
what a car actually is. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so no, I'd love to have a go of that. I hope I get the chance to try it. It looked really fun. So if you haven't seen the reel, do go and check it out, because it is good. It's great.
It was amazing. I can't lie, I got a little bit travel sick, but that's mostly because not because
Yeah.
of the virtual reality side of things, but because we had to turn the aircon off because it was too noisy to be on camera, because they had this massive box in the back of the car that was all the
Yeah.
digital stuff that's going on inside of all the cameras and the VR stuff all set up. So inside the car was absolutely boiling. So I know Manos did a lovely edit of cutting out all the bits where I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm sweating. Oh my God, I'm
Excellent.
sweating."
So you've been driving imaginary cars.
Yes.
I've been driving no cars because I've actually not been allowed to drive. So I've been
No.
driving these. I've been driving my crutches. If you're listening and not
Hey!
watching, I'm now holding up my crutch.
We need to, like, pimp them out somehow. I don't know, can we add, like, a boombox and some neon lights or something along the bottom?
A
Go
little
faster
battery operated
stripes?
fairy lights around them just to kind of give it a bit of a vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been interesting. But I will be cleared for driving this week, which is exciting.
Yes.
And I've got I can't guess what I've got coming for my first post-operative car.
Oh,
I've got the single motor Kia EV9. And I'm really looking forward to driving this, because obviously EV9 is the world car of the year for 2024.
yes.
We really like that car a lot, but I haven't driven the single motor yet. And I've heard some
Ah,
really nice things actually about how it drives. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So that's coming this week for me. The person who's been doing,
fabulous.
yeah, it'll be really good. It'll be great. And also I need something I can kind of climb up into, because I'm still a bit sort of, yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
Room for your
Um,
crutches.
yeah, so
Yes.
I'll stop talking about my illness now, because probably everybody's switched off. Um, but Tom has been doing the driving for all of us this week, hasn't he?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, 'cause I
Mike's on holiday.
yeah.
You've been on holiday.
Yes.
I've not been around. So Tom has
No.
been off and has driven 4 different cars in 4 days.
He is a busy boy. That's why he can't be on the podcast this week, because he's just been so insanely busy, but he's driven some really cool stuff this week.
He has. He's driven the Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4, which are
Mhm.
coming soon to the channel, the Bourne VZ, which he
Yes.
did actually call me about, and he was so excited about it. So that is coming soon. And then we had a comment from Sunny D6291. Hello, Sunny
Nice.
D on YouTube, saying, OMG, thank God, Cooper Tavascan. Yes, at last, waiting all year. It looks sick. Take my money. Review ASAP, please.
Take my money.
Take
Just
my
take
money.
it.
So they are working hard to get the edit of that Tavascan first drive done.
It looks great, doesn't it? It looks like a lovely car. I'm a big fan of Cupra. I think what they're creating is
Yeah.
so stylish, and everything that I've driven of theirs has been really nice. The Cupra Born is just cracking, and then even the Formentor, the plug-in hybrid, I think is a really beautiful, impressive car. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the review. I
Are
think it's gonna be a
you?
good one.
Well,
Yeah.
I kind of know what he's going to say in it, and I think it will be one that everybody will want to watch.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a tease. I
that's a
like that.
tease. That's a tease. It is a tease. Okay, so yeah, it's been a very busy week at Electrifying Towers for Tom. The rest of us not so much, but there's been some interesting news going on this week, and we've had another message in from Urban Strenken,
Yeah.
saying, "What do you think of Leap Motors, the small city car that's coming to Europe?" And that's been quite a big story this week. So, Nick, I know you've been off on holiday. I don't know if this has slipped your radar or not, but Leap Motors is this It's a joint venture. So Leap Motors are a Chinese car maker, and they've gone into a joint venture with Stellantis, who, of course, are the parent company of all those brands like Vauxhall and Peugeot and Citroen and a whole load more. And
Everything.
yeah, pretty much everything. So they
Yeah.
bought a stake in Leap Motors, and their sort of global CEO, Carlos Tavares, said this is all about bringing more affordable cars to the UK. So there's going to be two new models coming to Europe and the UK. So it's a Fiat 500 rivaling car called the TO3, and a sort of Tesla Model Y sized car called the C10. So that
Ah,
little one is a little city car. Their pricing in China, the top spec costs less than £9,000. Not bad.
right.
Not bad, is it? That's for a range of 155 miles. And it's quite cute. It's a cute little thing. It does look a bit Fiat 500-ish. It comes in sort of pastel colours, and it's got sort of pastel interiors. Not necessarily my bag, but that could potentially knock the Dacia Spring off its spot as the most affordable electric car in the UK. And then their
Wow.
second car is the C10, which is a larger family SUV, similar in size to the Y and the Enyaq and ID4 and Explorer and all this stuff that's coming through. Um, in China, the prices for the C10 start low at less than £15,000 for a.
What?
I know, nuts, right? Absolutely nuts. And that's but there's two battery options on that one. There's a 53 kilowatt battery with a range of 256 miles, which is pretty good for an
Wow.
entry level, and a 70 kilowatt hour battery with a range of 330 miles.
Surely it can't be that price as soon as it comes to the UK. There's
Well,
that.
this is the kicker really. Yeah, UK pricing hasn't been confirmed, but I'd be very surprised if we get them close to that price. I think maybe the smaller car might become a rival for the Spring, but if you look, say, at the BYD Seal,
Mm.
that's £20,000 in China, and in the UK it starts at 45,000.
Okay, so maybe we can expect around 30 grand then for the C10.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I was messaging with Stellantis this morning just to find out a bit more about that, and they wouldn't tell me confirmed pricing yet. But it's not those two cars are not coming to the UK until March next year. They are,
Okay.
however, going on sale in the autumn in Europe, so we're not far off knowing pricing. They said so. We will obviously, let you guys know that as soon as we know. The other interesting thing is, I asked them. I thought, well, how is it going to be sold? Because
Yeah.
of course it's not an existing Stellantis brand. So are they going to do just like online sales for it? How's it going to work? And actually it's going to be sold. Let me just check the wording. It was quite curious, but it was at a, let me just, where's a little message? Hold the line, caller, while I
Hold the
just
line,
check
please,
my
caller.
message. It will be sold through some of the network that have our franchises today, and they're talking to them now on this. So certain dealers, I don't know whether that will be a mix of different dealer groups or whether that will just be sold through, for example, just Peugeot dealer groups, but it will be actually sold through Stellantis dealers here in the UK. So quite
Interesting.
interesting.
So you could go along to a Fiat garage and go and have a look at a Fiat, and then there'll be a rival sat potentially right next to it that's
Well,
cheaper, do you think?
that would be there. That's the bit that will be interesting, I think, whether they'll actually do that. Because do you
Yeah.
want to do that? Do you want to have, as you say, do you want it, for example, alongside an Ami or alongside a Fiat 500? So it's gonna. But so anyway, back to that question is, what do we think of it? I mean, I haven't driven the car. I've had a look at it. I do think it's quite cute, the little one. Um, I mean, just until we sort of sit in them, feel them, drive them, we don't know. But I think if it means more affordable electric cars, I don't know about you, Nick, but I'm all for it.
And especially if they're going to end up landing underneath a Stellantis brand, which means that you'll have places to go and
Yeah,
garages to visit and mechanics that will be able to understand and know how to deal with the car rather than just a random Chinese brand coming over and not having a base in the UK. If
yeah,
you've already got the Stellantis bases in the UK, then it should work, shouldn't
yeah.
it?
And we've seen the challenges of that, haven't we, with the woes of Fisker,
Mm.
who, the very real questions for owners of current Fisker models who took the plunge and bought early cars is what happens to them. I think Fisker is still teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. In fact, I don't know, who knows, in my drug induced haze of the last 2 weeks, they might have tipped over. I don't know. Maybe I've missed that. But
I haven't spotted anything.
it's a really interesting question though, isn't it? That what happens because they have no dealer network. if that company's there no more, what happens if your car needs over-the-air updates? Who's going to service them? It's a
Yeah.
lot of so that so I think it's, as you say, it's quite reassuring that the cars will be sold and will come under that blanket of this is Stellantis, they're going nowhere. So it will give people peace of mind.
Yeah, interesting. I look forward to that. Hopefully, we can then go and have a look at like the European launch, etc., at the end of the year. Then that'll be nice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
So I don't know. The other thing that caught my eye was the lovely Steve Fowler, who was on our podcast a few weeks ago, who has employed both of us in the past.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. So Steve filed a great story. So I was too ill to speak at a conference last week, and he stood in for me, which was brilliant. And he had a really good chat. He took an interview slot that I had with the CEO of VW, and Steve
Mm.
took that, and he got a great story out of it actually, which is that the so the ID3 when that came out was the electric Golf, wasn't it? Effectively.
Yes.
But the next electric Golf will actually be the Golf. Do you get what I'm saying? You following me? No? No?
What? But wait. So hang on, because there's already the Golf E.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but so the next generation Golf, which is due in about 3-4 years,
yeah.
will be electric. It will be electric, and it will be called the Golf.
So then what? So so
She has questions. Oh, she has so many questions.
so what about? So what happens with the ID3 then?
Well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? I presume um, that so basically Thomas Schaefer, who is the CEO of VW Group, confirmed that work's already underway on the next generation Golf, and that it will be all electric.
Right.
And that he's really excited with what it's looking like, and it has all that kind of essence of what the Golf should be. And they've got this brilliant design boss, Andreas Mint, who is going to do really good things with VW. It does make me excited about them as a brand again. So I think what will happen, it hasn't been 100% confirmed, but I've had some conversations around it, and I think they will just quietly drop the ID brand. I think
That's huge.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Huge, but also Mercedes have come out this week and said that the EQ brand will be dropped as well.
I mean, I guess like you think about it, there's no need for it. If
No.
they're gonna keep everything moving electric and the future of driving will be electric, then just keep their brand names and just turn them electric. You don't need the
Yeah.
EQ, you don't need the IDs, you don't need the E's or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess they've needed it, haven't they, for this transition period? And I think it's probably a different challenge for brands like Mercedes, like Volkswagen, who have got really strong nameplate histories. So,
Yeah.
like the Golf is so iconic, and it's a harder juggle for them. Whereas you've got someone like Kia, who's basically just come in and gone, well, we'll have Kia EV 1 to 9, and that'll be our EV range, because they don't necessarily have those really strong brand names that people are
Yeah.
quite attached to.
Yeah. Whereas you could get yourself in the future a Mercedes A-Class that's just also electric.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's what they've said, is that as they move now to all the models being purely electric, then eventually it will just be the S-Class, and the S-Class will be electric.
That makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really
that makes
interesting.
I wonder if
Interesting.
BMW just kind of follow the same thing instead of having the i4, the i3, the i whatever. They'll just keep it as a 3 Series, a 4 Series, a 5
Maybe,
Series.
yeah, maybe it's interesting, but I suppose what they've done is that kind of middle ground. They've kept the names and just put the I in front, haven't they?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
VW did this whole ID 3, 4, whatever, and actually, anyway. But yeah, I thought it was a really
Interesting.
interesting story. We have a rendering on the site, so if you haven't already, check it out on electrifying.com. It's a rendering of what the new Golf could look like. Let me just say, I really hope the new Golf doesn't look like our rendering.
I'm assuming it doesn't look like a Golf.
Well, let us know in the comments below what you think. Please do head over there and let us know whether you would be happy if the new Golf looked like our imagining of it. So who knows?
Oh, no. Now, look, I know that Tom isn't on this week's podcast, but I have been messaging Tom, and we still do have Barnard's Bargains of the Week, because this is now
Yay!
becoming a regular feature on the podcast. So I'm going to read it straight from his text because I'm a millennial and I didn't have it open on my laptop. So I'm going to go straight into WhatsApp and open up Tom's messages, right? So first of all, last week we were talking about a deal with the Nissan Ariya.
Mhm.
But also at the same time, this week, Tom has found a deal for the brand new Ford Explorer estate. So, what
Oh,
he's done is he's been wonderful and he's created the exact same thing for a Ford Explorer, an ID4, and the Nissan Ariya. So, all
mhm.
of them are 48 months. 5,000 miles, and then it looks like 3 grand initial rental. Yes, 3 grand initial rental on each of them, right?
Yep.
So,
So 3
if you
grand
want to
down.
go for a Ford Explorer, that's going to be £396 a month, which you think about it, you kind of go, yeah, that's okay. 5,000 miles isn't a lot, but that's all right. But then if you go for the ID4, which is basically exactly the same car, you can get that for 50 quid less.
Oh.
And you can get that for £353 and 97 pence a month. And
Oh.
that's the same. That's still 48 months. That's 5,000 miles, same money down. But this was Tom's message, right? He said to me, he went, interesting about the Ford, because that company seriously needs to sell some EVs fast to hit its quota. Because he's come along with the Nissan Ariya with exactly the same thing, with the bigger battery, and that is £321
Oh,
a month.
no. Poor Ford. I
So you'd
mean,
rather go for an Ariya, surely, or even potentially an ID4 for 50 quid less. How are Ford Explorer going to sell their cars at that price?
I've got no idea. That's just yeah, that seems way too much for me. I mean, we haven't this is such a weird car, isn't it? Because it's taken so long for us to get any access to it.
Yeah.
We finally, apparently we've had an invitation for the first international drive, so I know you're gonna do that, aren't you? Is that
Yeah,
soon?
going to Slovenia, at the it's either when is it? June the
June, it's yeah,
13th
but
or something?
so they've been really slow with this car, and I guess it does depend. You know, I've seen it, sat in it, but in like a studio space, very briefly. It looked all right, you know? It actually looks a bit like I've just been talking about those cars from Leap,
Yeah.
Leap Motors. It looks a bit like the bigger car, their C10. I actually think when there's a couple of shots, hopefully Manos can drop them in, where I actually thought it looked a bit like a Ford Explorer anyway, but I just think it's a lot of money
Yeah.
for that car. And when you look at the Aria, I mean, I know you guys talked about that a lot last week, and Batch was pointing out the carpet, but it
No, he
does have
loves
that
it, yeah.
lounge feel inside.
It's a bit more
Um,
plush.
I mean, that's a bit of a no-brainer really for me. It would be an Aria, although I'm probably the only one on the team who does have a few issues with the Aria. I don't actually love how the Aria rides. It's a bit too fidgety for me on the really crappy roads that we have in the UK. So
Mhm.
if you are getting it, don't go for the 20-inch wheels because they definitely make matters worse.
It'll be
Um,
interesting to see it go head to head, the Ford go head to head with the ID4, because it's the
yeah.
same package,
Yeah, and
basically.
we'll be doing all of those tests as soon as we get our hands on them in the UK. Goodness knows how that means, but at least there's pricing now, team. So you
Yes,
can, it actually is existing. There's pricing, and we're going to drive it. So all hail the Ford Explorer. Be interesting to
you
see.
you might just be a Ford fan and decide to stay with Ford for brand lovingness. I don't know, but we'll see.
Maybe.
You've got a face of no.
Maybe. I just worry about Ford. I'm just not convinced about them. I think they've left it too late. Their offerings haven't been good enough, and I just think when you look at the exciting cars that are coming out from other brands, I worry about Ford in the long term. I really do.
It'll be interesting because there's a lot about Ford that I've always loved over the years. And the moment they came out with the Sync 4 setup, like the infotainment Sync 4,
Yeah,
so far superior to the Sync 3, and it looked like they were moving in a fast direction. And then all of a sudden, the Ford Explorer came out. I'm assuming that's got the Sync 4 setup, potentially whatever they've got brand new coming out. But then you sit in one of those, and then you sit in something a bit more
yeah,
futuristic, like a Korean car, or even a Chinese car, and they're far superior to what you can get in a Ford. So it'll be interesting to see when they finally turn the Puma electric and things like that, if they can keep up with the pace of everyone else, because it does feel like they're
yeah.
far behind
I
at the
wouldn't.
moment.
I personally would not bet on that. I really
Mm.
wouldn't. I just, yeah. I don't know who's going to be the Kodak of the car industry. Mhm. I don't
Kodak.
know. I'd be putting maybe an outside bet on Ford. I don't know.
Oh no, Ford. I love the Mustang, though. I love the Mustang. That's nice.
It
I
is
don't have anything bad to say
it
about
is
that car.
nice. The Mustang is lovely. It is
Yeah,
nice. So, yeah,
yeah.
maybe I'm just a bit grumpy. Who knows?
It's the
Um,
dogs.
should we move on to comments and emails now, Nick? What do you reckon?
Yes, yes, go for it. Right, do you wanna go first?
I'll go first. Yeah, so do
Great.
keep them coming. If you're listening on your streaming service, you can email us podcast@electrifying.com. Or, of course, let us know what you think in the comments below. You can ask your questions, drop your comments. We do read them all. So I was fascinated by your conversation about T-Bay last week because I absolutely love T-Bay.
I know you do.
I really love it. It's just such a gorgeous place. We had loads of messages about T-Bay, just people just generally just going, yes, it's great. Food available looks amazing. And Phil Hartley, 7 at 564 said, wow, you just read my email of first for me. So let's read
Oh,
another one from you.
this is the second time.
Yeah, he said, on a 1,200-mile trip, I stopped at T-Bay South on my way home just for the farm shop. There are chargers, not the Tesla ones. They're on the left as you go into the main car park, and they are indeed, because I have used them, Phil. And then Darren Jones put a message out to say, where is T-Bay? Oh, Darren. So for those of you that don't know where T-Bay is, T-Bay Services, it's a small independent group. They operate 2 services, one at T-Bay, which is on the M6 in Cumbria,
Mhm.
and it has the most amazing farm shop, the most amazing food. They also have a second one on the M5, the Gloucester services. So if you're planning trips along either of those places, you need to make a stop at one of those 2.
Okay, okay. All
Enough
right.
enough chat about T-Bay. We're not
It's
sponsored
been
by them. Honestly, we just
had
love them.
it was do you know what? It came off me playing a card game of, motorway service top trumps, and T-Bay Services was just, like, the best card that you could get in the deck. That's
Ni-
what started the conversation. That's what caused it.
Nicola,
Anyway,
Nicola, do you think you might need to get out a bit more? Do you think?
I might do. I was out at the time in a different house playing
Oh,
motor, and actually,
playing
as soon
motorway service stopped.
but it wasn't my game, it was my friend Gav's game, and as soon as he pulled it out of the bag, I can't even begin to tell you how excited about 8 of us in the room were like, "Yes, motorway services!" Because we all do a lot of travelling for work. So, everyone got excited about it. I highly recommend it. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon somewhere, but it's a
Okay.
pack of cards.
I'm not dashing there, but good on you, Nick. Should we move on?
Yes, right. This is a message from Peter McFarlane from Oz. I can never understand the English aversion to BYD. Apart from the seal, there seems to be an unwritten rule that English journos trash BYD. I've had an
Oh,
Atto 3 since October last year, and for me, it's the best car I've ever had. I drive it daily, averaging 450 kilometres a week. Oh, that's quite a lot. And it handles fine. I drive on occasion 2 hours down the freeway at 110 kilometres per hour, and it just runs perfectly. He just goes on to talk about pricing and money,
yeah, yeah.
etc., etc. He says very good value. Honestly, I don't really know what your problem is. But I know exactly what's caused this comment, and
Yeah.
that's because I'm currently driving a Dolphin, and it's irritating me slightly. But
Okay.
that's not a BYD thing because I'm a huge fan of the Seal. I think the Seal is a fantastic car. However, the Dolphin, I've had a few pickles with when it comes to the software and the amount that it beeps and little irritants like that. So I think that's maybe the issue. It's not a BYD thing, it's a Dolphin thing for
And
me.
and 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 actually, just kind of, I love BYD,
Mm.
Peter. I mean, maybe some journalists do not like them, but I think as a rule, we are big fans of them as a brand. Think they're doing really exciting stuff. And actually, if you
Yeah.
haven't watched it, check out a review that you and I, Nick, did in the depths of winter last year of the
Yeah.
upgraded Model 3 and the BYD Seal.
Yeah.
You will see what we think of BYD. I think they
Yeah.
are a really exciting brand, and I predict that they will fulfill their ambition to become, one of the top selling manufacturers in Europe because
Yeah, I
they're
agree.
producing good cars, really good
Yeah.
cars. But I think, it's just all personal stuff as well. The Dolphin, you've had issues with it. You genuinely have had some quite frustrating software issues that have had to
Yeah.
be sorted out. So, but as a rule, no, we love BYD. So
Yeah.
please don't put us in that bag. It's a little unfair. Check out our video.
And also
Um,
the Dolphin does drive nice. It's very nice and
drives
quiet,
really
and
nice.
it drives really
Yeah,
nice. It's the
yeah.
software issues that have been the major
It
hiccup.
looks nice. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very cute.
yeah, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, Hugo Slower has said, a small point, but all of your reviews praise manufacturers for underfloor storage. In the boot of a car for somewhere to place your charging cables. However, if you're on a long journey, perhaps with passengers and luggage, is it really practical when you have to unload the boot to charge?
You don't have to unload the boot to charge when you're on a long journey because it's, well,
Well,
public chargers
you
have
do,
their
but
own.
I get his point because what he's saying is we always go, oh, and there's a great, the sub boot.
Yeah.
We always say, there's a great sub boot under here. So when you lift the boot floor up, we always like it when there's somewhere underneath to keep your charging cables. So what
Yeah.
he's saying is, if you've got all your cables and stuff in there, so you've got all your bags in there, then you've got to get your bags out to lift up the boot floor to get the cables from underneath. And that is a very good point. But that's why we like frunks, because if you put your cables in the front, then that's not an issue. And if you know you're going on a long journey, you could always lift your cable out before you set off, couldn't you?
But also, I mean, if you are doing a long journey, you're probably stopping at public charger, which has built-in cables.
Tethered cables, absolutely. All the rapid
You
chargers have tethered cables, but you know what? Maybe Hugo does a lot of kind of AC charging where he needs to provide the cable. Who
maybe.
knows? But
Yeah.
it's a very valid point, and yes, but I'm not the most organised person in the world, but I think I would probably just take my cable out of the sub boot. So, but we're listening. Good point, Hugo. Thank you.
We're listening, but I don't think I've ever come across that problem, but we are listening.
uh,
Right, should we keep going?
Keep going. Let's do
'Cause
some
I know
more.
we've already hit half an hour, but we're just gonna
Okay,
keep
just do
going
a quick
anyway.
couple more.
Okay, so this is from, Brummies Alterno 81. Is that right?
Yeah.
Brummies Alterno 80, yeah, sure. So in relation to car sales, car dealerships don't help. My parents went to
Mm.
buy a new car. The dealer told them not to go for an electric car as the batteries will lose half its range and catch fire after 5 years. Who
No! No, no,
No!
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 No! Dealers,
Trouble
no.
is the trouble is the car salesperson said it, put my parents off, and nothing could get it out of their head. Even when I pointed out that the battery warranties are 8 years or 100,000 miles, so that they could be pretty confident that it would last at least 10 years. Anyway, they bought an ICE car.
That's shame on you. And this is the problem, isn't it? That some dealers are really good at selling electric vehicles and a lot of others are just not. But that's just downright rubbish, isn't it?
Losing half its range? No, absolutely not. What are they
Absolutely not.
talking about?
Absolutely not. If you look like as you pointed out, electric car batteries have warranties of 8, even 10 years. If you look at an engine, the average warranty on an engine is 3 years up to 7 at the very most from a couple of brands. So no, it's not an issue. But
See, this
ne-
is where I think it would have been. This is going to be a shameless plug, but this is where it would have been so good for them to have a look on electrifying.com because
yes,
that's what we're here for. This is why Ginny came up with this whole entire thing. Because there are people out there that are selling misinformation, things that aren't factually correct.
yeah.
And if you don't want to have to go onto a normal car website where it's full of jargon, etc., and you don't quite understand the language, you come onto electrifying.com and we will lay it out to you nice and simply and explain everything to you that in language that you can understand without trying to force a sale upon you. We understand if an electric car isn't for you right now, we get that. But if it is for you, then come to us because we can help you understand and know the actual limitations with every electric car. But that is factually incorrect what that salesperson did, and I'm gutted. I'm gutted about that.
But you know what? Let's end on a more positive note. So let's say, do you know of any dealers who are brilliant at selling electric cars? So are there any dealers out there, whether that's new cars, whether that's used cars, anyone that deserves a shout out because they just are really brilliant at selling electric cars? They give you great information. Let's celebrate some positives.
Yeah.
So drop it in the comments or you can email us podcast at electrifying.com. I want to end just on one quick question, Nick, because
Okay.
we're already slightly over our kilowatt half hour.
Ah,
So this is a question that came in from Brian Ellison, who said, "Hello, Nicola. I don't
hi.
have an EV yet. We like the yet, Brian. But I hear you talking about one pedal driving, and I assume lifting off the go pedal slows the car as in braking. Does the
Yes.
brake light come on to show the car you are slowing, to show the car behind you that you are slowing down? Not too silly a question, I hope. And absolutely not, because there are no silly questions.
No,
Absolutely no. There's just
it's a
no
good
daft
question.
questions. It's a really good question.
And yes, the brake lights do come on. So if you do have your one pedal driving up full whack, so if you have it on the maximum level, so it will completely brake and come down to a stop, then yes, your brake lights will
Yeah.
absolutely come on to warn the cars behind you. The car is fully aware of what's going on because the car is essentially braking for you. That's what's happening. So the brake lights will come on. It's only if you've got it on like a really really low level and it's not braking as hard as you normally would anyway, then they probably won't come on because you're not braking, you're just gently slowing down. But yes, your brake lights will come on.
They do
Yes.
absolutely come on. Um, and I'm excited for you, Brian, because when you do get your first electric car, you will experience it. And it's one of the things about driving an electric car that I really, really love. It's such a
Same.
nice thing.
Yeah,
And
same.
so, on that positive note, let us know the dealers that are doing a great job out there. Do send us any of your questions, any of your car buying conundrums. And yeah, I think it's time to call it. Thanks for being so kind to me on my first return to Electrifying
Welcome
HQ.
back. It's been lovely having you back.
And it's been nice to be back. That was the Kilowatt Half Hour. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.